Hey folks, Ethan here, also known as the Valid Transcendence Enlightener. Welcome back to the channel. If you guys seen me before, welcome back. If you guys are new, welcome. So today I am going to be explaining the tragic moment of the famous meteorologist team that lost their lives on May 31st, 2013. Before I get into the most tragic details, I do want to explain about the tornado event itself. This twister was very unusual, unlike any other twister I've seen, and a lot of meteorologists say this was completely unusual to them because no one has ever faced this type of monstrosity at all. No one has. What made this tornado very unique and very unusual was that um, it had very large subvortices that were very unusual, um, but these were not like typical subvortices. These were like very large, which typically subvortices on a typical tornado, they don't usually last very long, and they're usually very skinny and like more like snaky type of size. But for the Reno tornado, these subvortices were much larger than any of the subvortices you've seen in the Great Plains and in heavy terrain. Now, how large were these subvortices? These size of the subvortices were around probably the size of how you would see a typical tornado, but sometimes you would see these subvortices would be large, like a quarter-mile wide tornado, or even like around like a half-mile wide tornado, basically. That's how large these subvortices were. And these kept going on for like for quite a while actually. These were so large and very erratic. In fact, if you guys do take a look at the video of the Reno tornado, usually you only see one vortex on the ground, and you might be thinking that's the main twister, but in fact, uh, that's actually not the main tornado. In fact, the main twister, like the actual parent rotation, it's actually a lot larger than a lot of folks realize. And not many meteorologists were aware of this fact. They were not aware of what was going on because they thought, you know, everybody thought, including myself, I thought that whatever was on the ground, they were like, oh, it's just that size. But there's a lot more going on than that funnel that was on the ground. So the entire time this main parent rotation kept manifesting so many subvortices, like, so like imagine a big bowl as the main rotation, but instead of the main funnel coming down, you got so many subvortices spinning around like a merry-go-round, basically. And these were like very large subvortices that no one has ever seen before. And these things kept going on for quite a while. In fact, one of the rare times that one of the radar trucks that measure wind speeds, one of these subvortices actually had a wind speed of around 295 miles per hour winds, which is essentially an EFI strength. But the EFI scale, to kind of identify the intensity, it will be around over 200 miles per hour. So this is already a pretty damn strong tornado that you're seeing. Um, what's even weirder is that the parent tornado itself, the main twister, it doesn't fully come down to the ground all the way until like until it passes a specific highway called Highway 81. Once it passes over that, uh, pretty much the tornado itself actually expands and it starts shifting so quickly that a lot of chasers were caught off guard by this. And this is the part where the tornado itself uh, pretty much expands and pretty much condensing all the way to the ground to a powerful wedge that no other mirages would expect from this twister. Anyway, I'm actually gonna show you guys a brief type of like um, radar analysis and all the chasers that were involved in this event. This is not my footage, but this is something I borrowed for you guys to understand what was going on. Here is a video diagram of the tornado path from the Reno Tornado. You can see here that this actually took an unusual turn that no other chaser was ready for. Usually tornadoes will go northeast, but this one went southeast unexpectedly. All these dots here that you're seeing that are moving are all the chasers that are trying so desperately to escape, but it just made things a lot more difficult for them to maneuver. Right around here, this is where the weather channel got struck, and they somehow managed to survive this. Later on, it started moving northeast, and at the same time, it was expanding very rapidly.
Quickly approached our location, and we raced east.
Now, the tragic moment of the Twistex team it's just so hard to tell about this stuff because I actually astral projected that moment of the final moments, and I pretty much saw everything. But unfortunately, there are some footage about this, but unfortunately, it's not in public because the family does not want it to be shared, which is completely understandable. But according to a storm chaser named Dan Robinson, when he was escaping from the Reno Tornado, when it was actually surging northeast, when it was trying to expand its wind speed with the rotational field, he was actually escaping it, but his dash cam actually captured the entire thing of what was going on. But unfortunately, like I said, it was not made in public. But there are recreational footages of how it would have went down, but it's not the actual footage itself. Just to keep that in mind. And I was actually I think I was riding along Dan Robinson's vehicle, but I think I was a little bit behind more to see the entire details of what happened to the Twistex team. And I can actually see a lot of wind and a lot of hail and rain. Like it was just heavy winds, heavy rain, like in my view of how I was kind of astral projecting of how it was. And the crazy thing is that as soon as the tornado was expanding and moving northeast, I actually saw the Twistex vehicle car. I could see the headlights right there, and I can see their white car, which is what it was. And as soon as that tornado actually crossed over them, um, I saw the headlights get flung up in the air and it spun around. And the thing is that this was still the moment where the subvortices were still on the ground before the entire main rotation actually condensed down all the way to the ground into a powerful wedge. So this was still right before the entire wedge came down to the ground, like all the way, before it dissipates moments later after. But those were like the last moments I was able to see, even though I did not see the footage, but those were the last moments of the Twistex team. So, unfortunately, this is it for me. I don't really have much to say here, but I really wish these folks were into your life, but unfortunately, Mother Nature took a really dark turn on this part, and not many meteorologists were expecting this. Before I end the video, I'm going to show the final moments of how it all went down. And these footages I'm showing, I don't own these clips at all, but these are something that I've borrowed for you guys to see for yourselves. Anyway, love and light to all of you guys, and as always, stay strong out there. I'll see you guys next time.